Hello. Today I'm going to be talking about the address of the President to Parliament and the response by the Prime Minister and the opposition. Let's begin. Hello. Today I'm going to be talking about nationalism in a country, Indian nationalism and current events. The current event for today's video will be the address of the President to Parliament, in which she spoke about the state of the country and her government. I will also comment on the response by the ruling party through the Prime Minister and the opposition through the leader of the opposition. And let's get started. The President of India, Miss Draupadi Murmu, addressed the joint sitting of both houses of parliament on January 28, 2026. Key highlights of the address include on the economy, GST reforms have led to citizens saving more than 1 lakh crore rupees. Last year, in infrastructure and transport, around 18,000 kilometers of rural roads were added. More than 150 Vande Bharat trains have been introduced. Vande Bharat sleeper trains were introduced between Bengal and Assam. India's metro network crossed 1,000 kilometers, making it the third largest network in the world. Oh, I'm pleased about all these. I think infrastructures and transport infrastructure in particular is one aspect where the government has done well, in my opinion. The production of electronics in industry and commerce reached 11 lakh crores, increasing sixfold in the last 11 years. Over 25 lakh jobs have been created in electronics manufacturing. India became the second largest country in mobile manufacturing. These figures have been confirmed in the Economic Survey of India, which is a government survey, and have been also noticed by other organizations in India and around the world. In 2025, four more semiconductor manufacturing units were sanctioned. A total of 10 such units were going to commence operations. I am glad that the government has invested into these semiconductor units. I am not an engineer, so I do not know how they work, but I know that they are important for building advanced computer systems and other technology systems. And I think having them established in India will help India develop technologically and including with artificial intelligence, AI. India has become the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. Around 2 lakh startups have been registered in the country, of which around 50,000 registered in the last year. This is very good news. Startups can create employment for at small levels in the local areas of the country, both in urban and rural areas. And the fact that so many have been registered, especially many in the last year, shows that this sector is growing. Energy. Shanti Act, which is a nuclear power act, has been enacted to achieve the target of 100 gigawatts of nuclear energy by 2047. I think this is a good initiative by the government that India should invest in nuclear energy through PM Surya Ghar Mufti Bijli Yojana. Around 20 lakh rooftop solar systems have been installed. Good. I think this will help people have energy sources within their houses and not have to solely rely on the electrical grid itself. Labor skilling and job creation. For the protection and welfare of workers, dozens of labor laws have been consolidated into four codes. And I'm glad that labor laws have been consolidated into four codes since before they were made in various different acts, which could be complicated for laborers and business owners to comprehend. Under the Mudra Yojana, more than 38 lakh crores has been provided to small entrepreneurs. Around 12 crore loans have been dispersed for first-time self-employment. This adds on to the startup ecosystem growing in India to be the third largest in the world. These loans for small entrepreneurs has helped them grow. Under the Prime Minister Viksit Bharat Rozgar Yojana, more than 3.5 crore new jobs are being created. This is very good. So India needs to employ its people and make sure they don't stay unemployed or have to go abroad to get employment. Under the Ayushman Bharat Yojana, more than 11 crore free medical treatments have been provided until 2025. Of these, 2.5 crore treatments were provided last year. I am a capitalist, so I don't personally agree with government giving free businesses, free services to people. But healthcare is and education is one area where I think the government should provide assistance, financial assistance to poor people because these are necessary sectors to help the people of India survive and live with a dignified life. In the last 18 months, around 1 crore senior citizens have received Vay Vandana cards. Around 8 lakh senior citizens have received free medical treatment. Is good because many senior citizens in India are not wealthy enough to pay for their own services. So I agree that they should be given government support. Agriculture. Last year, over 350 million tons of food grains were produced. Around 150 million tons of rice was produced. I have heard that India is one of the world's leading rice producers in the world and is also one of the leading food grain producers. So this will help Indian farmers and agriculturalists uh, make money by selling within India and outside India. The Agriculture Investment Infrastructure Fund has attracted private investment of over 1.25 lakh crores. This is great. This infrastructure fund will help the government build infrastructure for farmers. In the last decade, 25 crore citizens have overcome poverty. That is 250 million citizens. This is excellent. The more people that come out of poverty, the more consumption will increase and the more they will produce. It's really great that India is developing these people out of poverty so fast. And women empowerment. Around 10 crore women have been connected to self-help groups. More than 60 lakh women became Lakhpati Didi in the last year. I understand that women empowerment is a feature of both this government and the previous one, but I don't think it's necessary for the government to make sure that any particular group of Indians uh, grows financially. I think they should just look at Indians as a whole rather than dividing them on gender lines or caste lines. However, this campaign, the Swast Nari Sashakt Parivar campaign, where 7 crore women have received health checkups, is something that the government should do. It'll help women get necessary help. The Prime Minister's reply to the motion of thanks on the President's address in Rajya Sabha. The second quarter of this century will be vital in building a Viksit Bharat. Viksit Bharat means developed India. This is what the Prime Minister said. Every citizen feels the nation has reached a crucial moment and must keep moving forward without looking back. I agree that every Indian citizen has felt that the nation has reached a crucial moment. Many Indians, both who support the ruling party and oppose it, Both think we are in a crucial moment, but not all of them agree that they're moving forward and that they have to keep moving forward. Some Indians believe they're moving backwards. So the prime minister shouldn't have said every citizen feels like this. He should have acknowledged that uh, many citizens are not looking forward to how things are going and want his government to make some changes. But he's a politician, and I don't think he would ever say something like that. So I'm just being wishfully thinking. He said that the second quarter of the last century was decisive in India's freedom struggle, and so this second quarter will be equally powerful and fast paced in building a developed India. This is an interesting statement of his. I do think that this second quarter of the 21st century is important for India. India can use it to grow fast. It is already the fastest growing major economy in the world. It can continue to grow and eventually become a developed country by 2047, which will be 100 years after independence. That'll be the best way India can celebrate that anniversary. The Prime Minister said that while the richest nations of the world are aging, India is simultaneously reaching new heights of development and becoming increasingly youthful. India has the largest youth population in the world and will continue to have that for the next 10 to 15 years. So I agree with the Prime Minister on this. Though I would like to add that India's uh, birth rates are falling and in a few decades will lose its youth bulge unless the government promotes pro-natal policies, which I think will help it. Prime Minister also said that India is having a combination of high growth and low inflation in India's economy. This is something that the Economic Survey of India and other economic organizations like the International Monetary Fund have confirmed. He says when his government was given the opportunity to serve, India was counted among the fragile five. This is not an official designation. This is a statement made by a particular analyst in the early 2010s. So people just should know that. And though the country was once the sixth largest economy with independence, it slipped to 11, but now India is going to be the third largest economy. I think this is a good point of his. We are growing economically under this government. He observed that in the post-COVID world, as global instability grows, that's a reference not just to the number of deaths by COVID, but also the spending that many governments did for COVID, which caused inflation and wars that occurred after COVID, such as the war in Ukraine and Israel. That's what he's referring to here. This is a new world order is emerging, and impartial analysis shows a clear tilt towards India. India is now a trusted partner and friend to many nations, contributing shoulder to shoulder to global wealth. I think that is true. The quality of our diplomatic ties are improving. Government's energy has gone into correcting past mistakes and rebuilding India's global image. I do agree that the government is dealing a lot with mistakes made by previous governments, such as the Kashmir uh, imbroglio, where Article 370 was not removed despite it being temporary for 70 years. Also, the poverty India had before he came to power and other issues. He stressed that India is now driven by policy, not ad hocism. I'm not sure what he means by that. He said global CEO forums now view Indian entrepreneurs as equals. I have not attended such forums, so I can't speak from my personal experience, but I do think that generally global CEOs are uh, working more with Indian entrepreneurs now, and that even delegations from all political parties have experienced disparity abroad, returning with pride. That India's business sector is creating ties and outreach towards foreign companies, which will help the country. India's MSME network, which provides long term economic power, and noted that many components of aircraft are manufactured by India's small MSMEs, earning global trust. This fact that India is working in this is good. It'll help us get a foothold in the supply chain of the airline industry. He said that the European Union trade deal and the recent agreement with the United States have been praised by internationally. Yes, this I can confirm. These both these agreements have been praised, although the agreement with the United States has been criticized also more than the EU agreement. And he said the prime minister said that opposition parties have all been in power for decades at the center and the state, and their identity remains one of corruption and failed governance. I don't mean to be partisan, even though I support the BJP. I do think this comment is correct in saying how the identity of these ruling opposition parties is now. They are identified with corruption and failed governance. He said before 2014, the era of phone banking prevailed, where leaders' calls determined the disbursement of crores of rupees, while the poor went treated with disdain and denied access. This is true. There are uh, reports, not just from today, but also contemporary reports in the 2000s and earlier, where uh, members of the ruling party then would ask or pressure banks to give loans to those who were friends or allies. Prime Minister said that numerous banking reforms were undertaken and weak public sector banks were unable to function properly, were merged with stronger banks, and that this helped create healthier banks, which increased transactions and allowed people to gain access to funds. He also spoke of the Mudra Yojana, which I spoke earlier. I think this is one of his best programs that he's created. It'll help small businesses. He accused the opposition that during their time in government, 10 crore small farmers with less than 2 hectares of land were neglected. Now his government has felt the pain of small farmers and introduced the PM Kisan Saman Nidhi scheme. He said that in a short span, 4 lakh crores has been directly transferred to small farmers' accounts. I do think that this can empower and help small farmers, but ultimately, I think this is just a handout, and I don't agree with it. I think that the government should continue to do what it's doing in rural areas, which is to build infrastructure, which will help farmers sell their crops in the village and the cities, and will help them themselves earn an income rather than relying on transfers from the government. Prime Minister created a technology platform called Pragati, which reviews stalled projects of the government. He says that Pragati, he examined why projects were stuck, which departments were responsible, and how costs escalated from 900 crores to 9,000 crores due to mismanagement. He says now that projects worth 85 lakh crores were unlocked and accelerated under his government. Prime Minister spoke about achieving solar targets by 2030 and that they were actually accomplished by 2025. So he's going faster than uh, predicted in the area of renewable energy. Similarly, ethanol targets have were achieved 2 to 3 years in advance. Prime Minister spoke about removal of Article 370. He says he brought peace and development to the Northeast, responded to Pakistani terrorists by entering their homes, carried out Operation Sindoor, took steps to free the nation of Maoist terror, where from more than 100, less than 10 districts in India are now under Maoist control. And he placed in just what he calls the unjust Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. I think these foreign policy moves by him were very good and have really helped enhance our national security. He says that earlier governments were run by remote control. His government too runs by remote, but that remote is the 140 crore citizens of India. He emphasized that coming era is full of opportunities for India, especially for the youth, and policies are being framed to harness this possibility. I think this is true. There are many growing opportunities in India, and that the youth can take advantage of these. And he finally said, thanks to all members of parliament who contributed to the president's address, affirming that the valuable ideas shared will aid the nation's progress. Now, what did Rahul Gandhi say? This He spoke in Lok Sabha today during the discussion on the motion of thanks on the president's address. This was in 2nd February 2026. He says, "Thank you, Speaker, sir, for letting me speak on the president's address. Young colleague over there, I don't know who that is, made allegation against the Congress Party that they were unpatriotic, and Rahul Gandhi said that they were. I don't personally like calling voters or normal Indian people as unpatriotic, but I do think calling political parties unpatriotic is okay, although not ideal. And Congress, being what to me is a globalist party, makes them me think that they are lacking in patriotism. But such words should not be used in Parliament. And Rahul Gandhi spoke from the memoir of the former army chief Naravane. This is not a published memoir. The government has refused to allow him to publish it. And what Rahul Gandhi was reading from was a news article which quoted this book. So I don't think this book is relevant and evidentiary for Parliament to comment on. So I'm glad that the Speaker expunged Rahul Gandhi's remarks on it and told him not to comment on it. I think for national security purposes, the opposition and ruling party should not comment on things that happen in the battlefield unless they are officially spoken about or authorized by the government, because the information may not be accurate, and giving inaccurate information could reduce the efficiency of our soldiers on the borders. We can see that the opposition and ruling party reacted differently to the president's address. Rahul Gandhi spoke was something totally different about the former army chief, while the prime minister simply commented on the matters raised by the president. And I think that this shows that there's very little eye to eye seeing by the ruling party and the opposition, and that there was also uh, walkouts by the opposition when the prime minister was giving his speech in the Rajya Sabha to the president, and he also tried to give a speech in Lok Sabha, which he was not able to do because women MPs from the opposition out his seat in parliament, which I think is very unparliamentary, and that uh, each member of parliament should be allowed to speak, including the prime minister, and the other members should simply wait for their turn to respond rather than interrupting and silencing them. And it was basically a mess. And I hope that uh, and I was also true that the opposition was speaking and raising slogans during the president's actual address, which I think is very inappropriate and disrespectful, not to her as an individual, but to the office she holds. I think the president should not become a figure that is politicized, in which people in the parliament comment on and try to influence. So, yeah, that's how I view things, and I'm confident that this government, under the uh, de facto rule of the prime minister, the de jure rule of the president, is performing well and will uh, do well in the future on the remaining term of this government. And that's all I wanted to say. Please share your thoughts in the comment section. If you want to see other videos about Indian nationalism and current events. Click here. If you want to see my previous video, click here. If you want to see the sources I use for this video, click the link in the description below. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.